Get one of these. Get a Faraday cage, right?
Yeah.
Live in there. Block yourself from all the 5G, and you'll be all right. You won't get corona. That cell phones and other devices emit electromagnetic fields of radiation. This is true. Okay,
Yeah.
sure. It's a sort of mini microwave. But I'm interested to know what Jalen and Yomi think about this topic.
Yeah,
They've
I'm very
been
curious too. You guys have been very quiet
very
this
quiet.
past 45 minutes. No one has talked.
Hello and welcome, everybody, to maybe, I don't know, a private conversation between me and my friends. Thank you to all of our FBI agents tuning in today. I'm your host, Chris, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Rob.
Hey, what's up, guys? Once again, shout out to our FBI correspondents who are tuning in. Shout out to the boys in the NSA. What's up, boys?
What's up, boys?
But yeah, welcome to Maybe I Don't Know, a show where we talk about nothing and everything at the same time. And maybe we do know some things, maybe we don't. Who knows? I don't know. Anyways, we got a special topic today in today's conversation. We're going to be talking about uh, what we can only talk about in this day and age: the coronavirus. So our co-host Chris has a list of conspiracy theories that we want to go over, and I'm very excited to discussing that with him today.
Yeah, so over the weekend, I found some very, very cool, interesting conspiracy theories. And a lot of them, it started off, and you'll see the first one that I'm going to talk about. And I heard about all the memes online about 5G. Have you heard about those at all? The
Uh,
5G memes?
I haven't heard like really any conspiracy theories except the
Oh,
ones
good.
like planting replacing the batteries.
Okay. Nice, nice, nice. So that's good. So a lot of these I had not heard of, and then I started just going down this hole of different conspiracy theories. I think it's going to be interesting because some of these I would never even think of. Okay.
All right, yeah, I'm excited.
So the first one that I wanted to talk about today was this conspiracy theory surrounding China. And I think we're going to end off with 5G because everybody's heard of that. I think we'll end there. So to start it off, in China recently, uh, you've probably heard that China has been able to get all of its cases down to basically a standstill. There are no more new cases. At least that's what they're saying. There's very little new cases, and they've kind of stabilized the situation, right?
Yep, that's what I've been hearing. Yep.
So there's this interesting article that I found, and you probably can see this on my screen here, and it's talking about how there was this random drop in cell phone users in China around the same time when this coronavirus case broke out. And around the same time, all at once, very, very quickly, 21 million phone plans just completely vanished. Right? And people are saying that China lied about its death toll and that the real death toll is attributed to this 20 million number. Okay, of 20 million people who no longer have cell phone plans anymore. Because it all kind of happened at the same time. All of a sudden, unprecedentedly, 21 million phones just vanished.
Interesting. So 21 million people's that's like the user's phone plan, not just like people stop using their phones is what you're saying.
Yeah. So basically, like 21 million people stop paying for phone plans, right? That's the idea. This phone company had 21 million people not renew their phone plans. They just canceled them.
I have just one phone company or they have multiple different like
This phone company was called China Mobile Ltd. You know they're communists, so maybe they only have a couple phone companies. I don't know, but for one company,
LTV.
yeah, China Mobile Ltd.
Yeah, trade name of both. I mean, yeah, I think like number of employees. How many users do they have? 902 million subscribers. What the hell?
So
How
I mean, you could see
in China?
China only has like a billion or like 2 billion people, right?
Wow, so that phone company has like about like 80% of the or like 70% of the entire population. But 21 million, you said, is like a drop in cell phone users.
Yeah. 21, yeah, exactly. So 21 million just all of a sudden. This is unprecedented. They haven't seen this, or at least that company. Yeah, 21 million are just gone. And people were saying that China lied about its death numbers, and that's the real number. That 21 million people lied. So, or 21 million people died.
21 million. Do you think they would cancel it right when they're
Well, they
that?
can't pay for it anymore.
I would think that it's. I would think that it's not that people that who are dead, but people who you know how like they monitor. I feel like they do a lot of global surveillance, right?
Uh huh.
If it's like people who were spreading like lies about like or supposedly spreading information about like the actual rates around the coronavirus, you know, like they just monitored people. They were like talking like crap about what the government was doing, so they canceled them or something like that.
True. Yeah, I think that's 100% possible.
Yeah,
Um,
but that's
but
wow. That's,
yeah, so then another interesting thing that came out. So obviously, when you hear this, it's most likely just conspiracy nuts, regular average people that think this. Most of the time, uh, when you hear these conspiracy theories, it's just average people, whatever. However, even the CIA, and you can see, I'm putting up this article right now, even the CIA thought that China's numbers were not true, and they themselves are hunting for an authentic virus totals in China death. Like what are their actual deaths from this virus? They didn't believe the Chinese government either. You know?
what does this article say the CIA is currently doing to find out those numbers? They
So
do. Oh, China, right.
they do what? Can you say that again?
Because they already do a lot of spying on China. Like they already have like an infrastructure in China. Uh,
Yeah. I don't know if they would publicly say how they're going to get this information. The CIA probably doesn't want us to know what they're going to do. But they are saying that they are looking to obtain a more accurate count of the Chinese rate of infection and deaths from the virus.
yeah,
So, the,
because because what does China have to benefit off of lying off the numbers?
well, I think to its people, China always likes to save face in the world and show that it's the best. So if
Yeah,
China was able to recover so well, and because they got a lot of slack from the world, basically hiding this virus for so long and not telling anybody, right? They're kind of like regaining their face. Look how little deaths we got. Look at how much we stopped this virus. I feel like there's a lot to gain.
yeah, I think that included also that. Oh, is there a lot of places in China like the workforce? Are they back and up and running like to normal standards, or are they still like ongoing?
Well, I'm pretty sure China is basically back. So if you look at the one of my favorite websites, the Worldometer, and if you look at China's graph on the Worldometer, I'm showing it right now. Their graph is no longer logarithmic. It's basically flatlined. Okay?
Yeah,
And the new cases every day is like almost zero. Like if you look at this, they have barely any new cases. So to in their eyes, they have basically stabilized this virus. So look at them. They're currently infected. They say that only 66 are infected right now. Out of all of China, only 66 people are infected with the virus.
that's
That's
crazy.
that's what they're saying.
If that were the case, then they would reopen up their economy, or like I wonder if like many manufacturing plants in China are still up and running. Like,
Yeah. I don't know I didn't really look into the state of how China is, if they're back to normal. But something interesting, to go back to the conspiracy case, this article by the AP, they basically said that this was false. Their reasoning for this not being true was that the decline in cell phone users is not linked to the number of people who died, but it's because many people canceled their phone numbers during the outbreak. So they decided not to spend money on their phone plans and to save that money because of this outbreak going on.
You would think that, but I feel like you would think that since the outbreak is happening, more people would be subscribing to their phone plans because that's their only way of communicating with people.
I don't know. I don't know.
What kind of major cell phone carriers in China attributed to the drop of multiple phone numbers? Yeah, I guess it doesn't really say like a reason why they're canceling the phone plans. It's just saying there's a linkage between.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I still think there might be something here. I think this is like crazy that like they're hiding basically that 21, if this were true, 21 million people died, and they said that their deaths, it was like in the thousands. Their death toll was not even close to 21 million. Let's Chinese. Oh wait, it says it on the Worldometer actually. Yeah, 4,000 deaths, 4,600.
I wonder, is it the United States that's controlling these numbers that are being shown to us? Maybe
The Worldometer.
yeah.
Good question. I wonder who owns the Worldometer.
Maybe it's the United States like trying not to cause like a global like panic, saying there's like actually like about like 20 million people dead in China or something like that. I don't know. But
Well,
that makes sense why they would like over exaggerate that China was really fine.
yeah.
Like it was controlled by the government. So that doesn't make sense. What other possibilities of like reasons why they would be lying about it?
Well, I think it just all goes back to China likes to be seen as like the best country in the world. That's what they tell their people. That's the propaganda they spread. So I think it's just them being like, we're the best country. Look at how well we were able to do this. Look at how well we were able to control this virus, basically.
That could be a reason. As yeah, I would. Seems pretty logical to me. I mean, if they have a track record of trying to save face, right?
Yeah. I wonder.
Yeah.
What were you saying?
I said if they have a track record of like trying to save face and wanting to be ahead of every single other country, then this would make sense. But if it's not in reality, like this, it only spreads propaganda to the people of China, right? Like,
Well, yeah, basically, yeah. I mean, they want to keep their own population under control. I mean, that's been their like running. That's all they care about, just keeping their population under control. You know. Yeah. So I just thought that was, so that was the start of my dig into all these conspiracy theories. I thought that was a little bit interesting because if this turns out to be somewhat true, a country hiding this many deaths and lying like this on the world scale would be horrible.
What do you think the repercussions would be if, say, they do release like the accurate numbers, or they like the CIA doesn't cover that, they're lying?
I don't think you can put any repercussions on China,
It's like I feel like what are the consequences of just like, oh, they lied, what are they gonna do?
That's the thing. I don't think you can't fight against China. They have so many allies and they're such a big country, and even after all of this trade war that that has been going on with China, they seem to be able to hold their own, so we'll see what happens. I think they need to see some kind of punishment from this because they basically hid the virus from everybody, right? For so long. something. There needs to be something. They can't just walk away from this, but they're probably going to.
Well, why wouldn't they be able to just walk away from this? Like, because does this have any like sort of economic effect on other countries that they're lying about it?
Oh well, are you talking about the death toll, or that they lied about having the virus for so long?
Um, with both, just them lying in general, like about how they're
Oh,
that
the,
not being that number not being accurate.
yeah, the death toll isn't as important. Like, it's really shady, and it just shows you how shady they are. The real problem that I see is that they hid the virus for so long. That's the real problem. They let people spread this virus and didn't tell anybody about it for a long. People are saying that this virus possibly could have broken out in November,
And it broke out in December, right?
and we only found out about it like January, or yeah, December basically.
Yeah.
So, and it was somebody who leaked it. It wasn't the Chinese government telling us. A health worker leaked it. Right?
Oh,
So
really?
there's so much wrong here. There's so much wrong that China did as a country, right?
I didn't know it was leaked by a health worker. Was the health worker like the like just report that people were dying off of some unknown disease or something like that? How did
I
he
I
leak?
think she came out and said there's this virus going around, people are dying from it. And I think I have to look it up. Let's see. Uh Whistleblower coronavirus. And like they punished her and all that. Yeah. Coronavirus killed China's whistleblower doctor.
He killed her?
No, the coronavirus killed apparently.
Oh, I thought
Uh
Chinese government.
no. I mean maybe. Oh, here you go. Yeah. So they did die from the coronavirus. Uh so it wasn't maybe it was a guy?
Mhm.
But anyway, yeah, he saw a SARS-like epidemic in his hospital, and the government then censored him and forced him to recant his warning. So after he put out this warning, the government was like, "You have to recant it."
He put out the warning. Did he just put? Oh, he posted on social media.
Probably something like that. Yeah, he did. Apparently, posts on Chinese social media have suggested that as many as 1,100 medical workers could have contracted the disease. So there probably were like posts on social media and stuff going on about this. Yeah. So anyway, that's what's been going on with China. So a lot of shady stuff, really. Now, I want to get into something a little bit, I think, more exciting. I think this is pretty cool when I saw it. So, have you heard any conspiracy theories about Bill Gates?
No. I heard that he had like a donation to fight the coronavirus, right?
Yeah,
Or,
his foundation, I think, has been one of the biggest donators to the World Health Organization.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's been doing a lot to help in that aspect. But recently, people have found an old recording of him, and I just want to play this video in its entirety, and then we'll talk about this conspiracy theory. But people have found this old TED Talk that he did.
Coronavirus pandemic.
And so they found this, this old video.
How old is this?
This is from 2015. This is back when he did a talk in 2015. The video I found is from 2020, but they basically show you here his TED Talk.
This was the TED Talk, right?
Yeah, it's just a quick clip of the TED Talk. In fact, this might be the TED Talk right here. This might be better.
Right, because like this popped up in my suggestions. I was like, this is kind of relevant, and I was like, wait, this is from 2014 or something like that.
Yeah. So he did this talk in 2015. Yep.
Okay.
Wait, can you wear headphones real quick? It's kind of echoing
Oh, it is? How?
through your mic.
Oh, yeah, hold on.
So yeah, so when I heard this, when I heard him talk about this, it was crazy. So we'll see. So have you watched this yet?
Yeah, I've seen it, but yeah, I've seen like most of it. I think I was skipping through it when I was watching it.
Okay, cool. All right, here we go. Ready?
Pandemic is upending our lives in ways many people, federal,
I want to skip this.
In nuclear, if any kills over 10 million people,
Okay, yeah.
and now
Here we go.
to hear Bill Gates' advice then.
if anything kills over 10 million people in the next few decades, it's most likely to be a highly infectious virus rather than a war. We've invested a huge amount in nuclear deterrence. We've actually invested very little in a system to stop an epidemic. We're not ready for the next epidemic.
That was 2000.
So that was him talking in 2015,
Yeah.
right? About what would happen basically if we were hit with an epidemic.
Okay. So what's interesting about that?
So one, he was able to correctly predict it, right? So
Okay, yeah.
this is the start to the theory. Bill Gates he's had this idea on his mind, okay? He knows about the possibility of a pandemic and what it could do to us, right?
Okay.
So he's very knowledgeable on the subject. You know, this was 2015, so when we get into the conspiracy theory, keep in mind that he's had a lot of time to prepare, right? For this conspiracy theory. Okay.
Well, who's had a lot of time to prepare? Bill Gates?
Bill Gates. Bill Gates
Okay.
has. Yeah. All right. So I found this New York Times article about Bill Gates. And it's talking about what's happened. I'm getting an ad block onto New York Times.
Just unblock your ad blocker.
Is it? I don't think so. I think they want me to subscribe.
Oh. Well,
It's alright.
how'd you even read it if you weren't subscribed, Chris?
I was reading on my phone. They give you a couple of free articles. I think I probably reached the limit of free articles, but it's fine. I'll just talk about it. So, in fact, you know,
Coronavirus pandemic.
oh my God, this guy needs to stop talking. I hate that it auto plays YouTube videos. Here, I'll go to this BuzzFeed article. This BuzzFeed article, I know BuzzFeed isn't the best source, but what's nice about this is they've compiled a lot of good Reddit posts and things like that. And this is where the conspiracy theories have kind of started from Reddit. Anyway, let's talk about it for a sec. So there have been many different conspiracy theories around Bill Gates, right? One of them, and the one that's talked about in this article, is that he wants to basically use microchips, or what the guy talks about is these digital tattoos on people, and these would basically track whether or not you have the virus. But the problem is that once you have these microchips implanted in you, they would be able to use it to spy on you for like further, you know, to like for whatever reason, sell your data for ads or something. Right? So he did this AMA on Reddit. He went on Reddit, he did an AMA, and he was asking it's like an ask me anything. People ask questions and stuff like that, and he answers them. Right? So this was his AMA. He said, the person asked him, what changes are we going to have to make to how businesses operate to maintain our economy while providing social distancing?
Is this during the virus or is this okay?
Yep. This is during the virus. And this is what Bill Gates says. So this question really had nothing even to do with microchips. But he says here at the end, eventually we will have some digital certificates to show who has recovered or been tested recently, or when we have a vaccine, who has received it. this is what
Digital certificates. What the hell is that? Is that the microchips he's talking about?
So that's what this guy picked up on. He said that recently Bill Gates has knowledge. So the guy was talking about this 2019 study funded by the Gates Foundation on quantum tattoos. Okay?
Wait. What?
So let's break this down. So in 2019, Bill Gates, his Gates Foundation did a study on quantum tattoos, right?
Okay.
It's an invisible ink that could last 5 years and be read with a smartphone. So basically, you have this tattoo on you. It can be read by some smart device, and this tattoo would then relay some information to your device. Basically, it would relay, in this case, did you receive a vaccine or not? Right?
Okay.
So Bill Gates obviously has, and he's even funded some of the technology to do this microchipping or to get this data. That's the start of it, right? Then, if Bill Gates knew about the possibility of a vaccine coming, and in 2019, right?
This was 2019, the foundation study on the quantum tattoos.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And if he started studying these tattoos and stuff like that, well, now he's poised in a very, very good position to basically get people on board to microchip themselves or to get these tattoos, and then he can later use this to steal data from people. That's the idea of what people have been saying about him. They're saying that he has some underground plan. He's known about this. He's been waiting for this to happen, and now he's ready to get people to microchip themselves so that he can steal their data from now on.
Right, because nobody would just sign up for that without any pandemic going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
So does this go into like was he just waiting for a pandemic to happen, or was he, maybe was he at the start of it all or something like that?
I don't know. One sec. Why is this not blocking my ads? I'm getting so many ads. No, wait, can you say that again?
I was saying because it seems like he has put himself in a position to benefit off of a next pandemic coming, because he did predict it. Yeah. And I mean, it would make sense for a business, like on a business standpoint, to sort of invest in this kind of stuff, but for it to go back to whether or not he was just either waiting for it to happen, like a pandemic to happen, which he thought might have been inevitable, or whether or not he, the virus was built in a lab or something. I guess like it could go all the way back to that,
And I think this is going to tie in very nicely to the next conspiracy theory.
So I'm curious, what like the Gates Foundation study on the quantum tattoos, what sort of like information does the quantum tattoos like relay? Is that available?
So
quantum dots, is that what it's called?
Biocompatible, listen to this. I didn't even know it was this crazy actually. Wow. A biocompatible near infrared quantum dots, delivered to the skin, record vaccination.
Record vaccine. Okay, how does it do that? Does it just like is it like able to like
I don't know the technology. I don't know how it does this, but it does it, right?
Okay, yeah.
It can record whether or not you've been vaccinated. Weird that this was done in 2019, right at the start, December 2019, right at the start of this virus. And it was founded by the Gates Foundation. It was funded.
That makes me think, like, I feel like the CIA and like the NSA probably knew about the virus before before it got out to like media. They definitely had to know, but like the main way they have this like spying infrastructure in China is through like huge companies like Microsoft and like Google and like Apple. So, like, I mean, of course, Bill Gates would know that it is coming, and he could prepare for this in 2019 when the fucking virus started. This man is crazy.
So, this conspiracy theory, maybe it has some truth to it. Maybe Bill Gates, like you said, I think that's a great point. His company, probably being one of the greatest pushers of this, what's this called? This personal data selling and all of this, right? He very easily, and he's such an important man, very easily could have been in talks with somebody in the Chinese government, and they're like, yo, watch out, Microsoft, because Microsoft probably has a lot of factories there. Very easy, they could have been like, hey, we're gonna have to shut these down soon, this virus or something, watch out. Maybe he very easily could have done
either that, or like the government was using Microsoft to spy on like these companies, and then Bill Gates just happens to know, like, through, like, I don't know, the Microsoft products that, like, I'm sure a lot of people in China use Microsoft products, right? Which, like, can go into to tell you that, maybe they're tapping people's, like, phones or stuff like that in China through Microsoft, right? And then Bill Gates would then come to know this information, be like, the pandemic's here, we got to prepare for this shit.
Yeah. So this kind of goes deep. There's definitely like a lot. I feel like it's not so absurd of a theory. You know what I mean? I feel like
I think it's definitely it's logical to think that Bill Gates or Microsoft would know of the virus before it reached, like, the whole public, right? And then would do precautionary steps to take into action to prepare for, like, what's to come. I think that's definitely logical, right?
Yeah. No, yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah. And at the same time, whatever, like, most likely whatever is gonna come from this at the end, because a lot of this theory has to do with once this virus is over and we all have these microchips, we all have these tattoos, they're gonna use this to, like, grab data on us. I think what I want to see is what, like you said, what can these quantum dots, what information can they relay?
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to look up right now. What type of data do quantum dots collect? Because if it's just simply, I mean, like, if we just think of, like, what possibly could they collect off of just, like, biological information? Like, I mean, they could obviously maybe sneak in, like, a microphone or something, but and then how that could be powered off of or like your blood.
I think the tattoos probably have less technology. I think what would be crazy, we have to keep an eye out for, is if they start actually pushing for microchips. Because on microchips, you could do little devices, semiconductor tiny devices, and have microphones and have things on a microchip, right? But with tattoos, I don't know if they have the technology yet to have actual devices on them. My guess is tattoos would only do biological stuff. So maybe, like, are you a drinker? Do you drink whatever? Are you
I guess I didn't think about that.
Yeah. Do you, what kind of foods do you eat? Do you eat a lot of, maybe sugars, whatever, all this stuff?
I was trying to think of, like, how they could use that information just from your biology to target, like, I mean, like, innocently your ads and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that could definitely go into, like, what type of food ads you want to see. And, like,
exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what all this information does. The only reason people want it is because they can sell it to advertisers. Right? Yeah. That's the only reason that they want all this information. It costs money. Very expensive.
And I'm reading, like, this scientific study on the quantum dots, but I don't know what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
I just want to see what data it collects. What is the difference between quantum dots and how do you biological research? Yeah, I mean, this could even go back into, like, the quantum dots are, like, being used to collect, like, neurological information in your body. in order for us to feed into the AI network, so that we can
Ooh.
simulate our consciousness into a machine.
Dude, like we're on the brink. This is it. You get a quantum dot, it'll download your brain, and then it sells your brain to the highest bidder.
They're just yeah, I like to get a quantum dot. We're just gonna put this in your brain. Why my brain? That's how we know if you have a vaccination, if you're thinking you have it or something.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, if this were to happen, I feel like people would be very trusting of the medical community and Bill Gates.
You know? Think? Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, that's like, it's so like futuristic for us to plant like these machines.
No, it's wild. It's wild. And that's why you have people like anti-vaxxers, because if this, and obviously most of these conspiracy theories are not true.
Mm-hmm.
If this ever were to come out, that people and the government and like Bill Gates and these big people would actually deceive us in this way, it gives them so much, these anti-vaxxers, so much ground to stand on, basically. You know?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Like, if they could do this, imagine what they could do. And, you know, imagine what they're putting into our vaccines, you know? So, most likely none of this is true. It's fun. I mean, it's fun to think about.
But everything that happens is just going to like create this whole barrier of trust between like these large companies and people. Because like, you know, I mean, like, most likely, and maybe they're doing what they're saying they're going to do. They're just going to check to see if you have vaccines. We're trying to help you. But like, there will always be people that are skeptical of that. And people should be skeptical of that.
Hey, yeah, we did not think that the government was spying on us until Snowden came out.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, anything is possible now.
Yeah, I mean, and you got to think like, I don't know, is this skeptical thinking good for like humanity to progress forward and like to be a more like, like, I guess, pandemic ready society? I don't know.
That's a good point, because if a lot of this thinking of our government is trying to screw us and all this and doubting science really only hurts us. It only puts us back technology-wise. It takes longer for people to trust new technologies, to trust everything in science, right? It stops us from moving forward and continuing in our technological progress. So if this was true, it'd be so detrimental to the science community.
Yeah. And the scary part is like the more complex these technologies become, like quantum dots and like how the technology works, the more that's just like creating a more barrier between like the average person who's not going to know, or like even me, I'm not even going to know how to explore like how this technology works. I can see like what it does on like face value, but like just like that academic like barrier between the average person is like I feel like it's going to do more harm than maybe that it does good. I don't know.
Yeah, it's an interesting moral dilemma.
Interesting moral quandary.
Exactly. You know, and this will be something that we definitely touch on, medical sciences and how far do we take it, because this is a whole topic we could go into, you know, in another episode. But yeah, this whole area, it gets crazy. But I'm interested to know what Jalen and Yomi think about this topic.
Yeah, I'm very curious too. You guys have been very quiet this past 45 minutes. No one has talked. So what do you think, Jalen?
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Yeah, okay.
Hey, but why would you say something like that? That's so nihilistic.
Dude, think about the people who are hurting right now. Jeez, Jalen.
Well, I think Yomi makes a good point when he says that.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear what Yomi had to say?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, that's that's really, I like that. Very good, Yomi.
That's interesting.
I think Yomi might be onto something here.
I think he's on the brink of anything that we haven't even thought about.
Mm-hmm. So, Thank you, Yomi and Jalen, for finally putting in some input.
Yeah, it's about time.
I want to move on to our last conspiracy theory here, and this has probably been the biggest one that I've seen.
Okay.
And it's talking about 5G. So I hinted to this a little bit, but let's talk about this for a sec.
5G mobile network.
So, just to kind of start it off, there's been this idea that 5G recently came out. You've heard about 5G, right?
No. Like, are you talking about like 4G, 5G?
Exactly.
Okay.
So just so people don't understand how this works, the way our phones communicate, they use radio, okay? And they use radio frequencies. And up until a certain point, obviously 5G that's not the technology being able to make 5G waves. The technology is being able to have our phones actually be able to read 5G waves, right? 5 gigahertz. You know, it's a much faster wave that our phones have to be able to read, that the chips on our phones, you know.
It says it delivers download speeds of 20 gigabytes a second.
It's going to be way faster now, because you can think. So basically, it's a whole new band that we can now operate under, okay? Phone-wise, in our phones, okay? Now, a lot of these conspiracy nuts have been saying that 5G recently has come out around the time of this coronavirus. And I'm gonna bring up a specific person who's been talking about this. But what they say is that the 5G makes our bodies, because of it's such a high frequency, 5 gigahertz, that's 5 billion hertz, right? They make our bodies more immunodeficient, so that we're more likely to catch the virus, and when we do catch it, our bodies are weaker. Our bodies are weaker and we can't fight it as well, so more people die. Okay? So there's this one person that I saw that was very prevalent on Twitter talking about this. I don't know who this company is, OK Player, but they show a lot of the tweets from this person. Her name is Carrie Hilson. I think she's a singer. Yeah, she's a singer-songwriter, right? Apparently, so you can say she is somewhat of a celebrity. She's a public figure for sure, right? And she's perpetuating this crazy conspiracy theory, right? So this is what she says. People have been trying to warn us about 5G for years. Petitions, organizations, studies. What we're going through is the effects of radiation. 5G launched in China November 1st, 2019. People dropped dead. Okay, so she's saying that once 5G came out...
Is that true?
Who knows? We probably could find out if they actually dropped November 1st. That sounds...
Like to see, where is she getting all this information from?
I wonder if Wuhan got their new 5G tower installed,
Oh, that's why people dropped that plan 20 minutes, because they wanted to convert to they wanted to upgrade their plan to 5G.
Exactly. Dude, it's all coming back around, all right? People, they needed the newest plan. They needed the newest best software.
20 million people, that's like, it's a good business, They got 20 million.
Yeah. They installed that new 5G tower, all good. So this is what she's saying. And, just to give a little bit of a background, I am almost an electrical engineer. I'm on my last semester. So I want to talk about this a little bit. I do have some knowledge in this field, a decent amount of it. So I will talk about it. But before we get into the science, let's hear what she has to say.
All right.
So she said, the problem is that cell phones and other devices emit electromagnetic fields of radiation. This is true. Okay, sure. It's a sort of mini microwave with unseen radiation that can cause harmful effects. The radiation from our mobile devices damage cell membranes. In their hurry to be the first one to roll out the fastest network, cell companies and government regulation are not doing extensive research on the health effects since it was developed for military use. It hasn't been tested thoroughly enough for public exposure. Okay, so that's her whole point, basically, right?
What is she screenshotting this from? Like, what is she screenshotting this from?
Oh, I think she wrote this in like her notes, and then she screenshotted her notes.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. What's her name?
Like she was like
Wilson?
screenshotting from like a study or something.
Oh, I mean, as we're gonna talk about, there is no correlation between 5G and like harmful effects on human beings. So I don't think there's any study that would have said that stuff. Let's see. I wonder if we can find the tweet. I want to be able to read. It's possible she also deleted it because this kind of stuff is bad, and we're gonna get into why this is bad. But spreading this kind of like mass hysteria is not a good thing. I don't know if we're gonna find it, but either way, so this is the conspiracy theory that, and it's not just her. A lot of people are perpetuating this idea that 5G can hurt us, right? I mean, to you, right? I'm not sure if how much you know about like radio waves and all this stuff, but what did hearing that? What did that make you think about it?
Well, it immediately made me skeptical of how like radio or frequencies from your phone could be damaging to like your health. I'm not sure if there's any studies on, on that kind of stuff. But if there is, and that'd be interesting. If like there were health like risk from 4G that were sort of, I don't know, maybe minor, but and increasing to 5G, I could assume that could make a greater health risk. But I don't know. It just seems like it's too much that it would increase like immunodeficiency to getting the coronavirus, and in turn, people can use, I guess, is like the whole end goal for this conspiracy theory for that people to be planted with like these microchips and stuff like that, just so like government can have more global surveillance on people.
Well, I think this one is basically saying that 5G is just harmful for you, and the way to know that it's harmful is the second it kind of rolled out, people all around the world started getting this virus, and started dying.
Right. Okay. So what does this study say that you brought up?
So this one, I just wanted to quickly look up cell phone radiation and carcinogenesis. So carcinogenesis, right? This has to specifically do with cancer. So it's the initiation of cancer formation. So I have read studies before about how cell phone waves are kind of bad for you, cell phone radiation. Let's see what they say about it. I wonder if they say anything like, do they have a conclusion? I'm not going to read this whole study, but obviously people have looked into this. Oh, here we go. They have a conclusion. So let's see what they say. Commercially available cellular phones. Let me zoom in just to make sure everybody can read this.
Seems like it's related to more cancer and fertility. That's what the conclusion was saying. I think you went all the way back up.
No, this is
That's not the conclusion.
There it is.
There we go. Commercially available cell phone might affect.
Here we go. They might affect cell function via non-thermal effects.
Plasma membrane might be the target of cell phone radiation.
Yeah. So
does the plasma membrane have anything to do with it?
She did. Remember, she said something about damaging our cell membranes. So she did say that. And what they're saying is they hypothesize that it would be harmful to it. And this electromagnetic waves, the RF electromagnetic waves, can increase. I don't know what ROS formation is. Let's look up what that is real quick, because this might be something to do with cancer. A reactive oxygen species generated by through mitochondrial electro. So it looks like that these electromagnetic waves do have some effect on our biological scale, right? They do increase the activity of plasma membrane, right?
So
And it can cause damage. It can RF electromagnetic waves can also cause DNA damage.
Okay.
Yep, and it can increase cell death. So there is some correlation, okay? Any tumor promoting effects of this might be due to its effect on these other things. So I think it's safe to say that there is some correlation, okay? There's some correlation.
That seems like it.
Now, my problem with this theory, there's a couple things that she's saying that are just flat out wrong. Or at least it's very misinformative. At the very least, it's very misinformative. The first thing that she says is like she equates this to microwaves, right? It's a sort of mini microwave with unseen radiation. So we're talking about a lot of people have probably heard of the electromagnetic spectrum. You've probably seen this before. You know how we have like different waves and different speeds of waves, right?
Yep.
Right? Microwaves are actually a very specific frequency of wave. You can't just go around just throwing this word out there. Microwaves. It's a very specific frequency of waves. If you look up the frequency of microwaves, it's in the order of 100 gigahertz. Microwaves operate at 300 gigahertz. So not even close. Not even close. It's not even close to 5G, right?
Yeah.
Not even close to 5G. 5G is 5 gigahertz. This is what? 60... No, is it 60 times more? Yeah, 60 times greater.
What is this woman's name? What is her name again?
Carrie Hilson.
Where is she getting this information of? She's whipping it out of her ass.
She said, this is a mini microwave, right?
She's like, it has to do with waves, you say? It's like a microwave?
It's like a microwave, right? Radiation, basically.
It's about 60 times?
This is interesting because 5G operates basically in the radio wave spectrum where we have just regular radio waves. People never say anything about radio waves being harmful or your radio being harmful to you, right? So I've never looked this up. I'm curious to know what frequencies does the radio operate under. So the frequency range of radio frequency from 20 kilohertz to 300 gigahertz.
That's such a big range.
It's huge, right? A radio wave is huge, and people never say anything about radio because they just give it a different name, and all of a sudden it's fine, right?
Yeah.
So you can see that they have ultra high frequencies. This is for radio frequencies, so it's obviously used in radio. Super high frequency. This is another radio frequency. What do they use this for? Oh, here you go. Parabolic antennas on a communication tower in Australia. Look at this. And they're using super high frequencies up to 30 gigahertz. But I didn't see a pandemic in Australia because they installed this tower.
Well, would you say that the I don't know how really the radio waves work. Does it specifically just go to that tower, or is it?
So the idea of it, and so in a sense, basically what's happening here is there are different bands of frequencies. Okay. They're all over the earth. I mean, people are constantly sending out these waves all over the earth, right? I can in my there's two things that kind of play an effect. One, when I send a wave, it matters how powerful the wave is, how strong it is, because obviously over time as it travels through the air it gets weaker and weaker, right? It starts to lose power. And also how fast my wave is. So does
Is
that
the
make sense?
frequency?
So how strong is my wave and how fast is it?
Right. Okay.
If I have a radio and I turn it to a specific frequency, all my radio is doing is listening for a wave, right? That is at that frequency.
Right.
So, and when you talk about actual radios, like a car radio, there's a specific band of radio frequencies that they listen to, right? So they don't just listen to 90 hertz. They might listen to 95 hertz down to like 80 hertz. They listen to a band of frequencies. Anything in between that band, like when you listen to 92.1 radio, right? I've heard that on radio, they skip every even number. And there's only every odd, because what they do is they listen to the whole band between each other. So anything in that band, anything in that band is their radio, basically, right?
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
So obviously, I can't hear something from Australia because it's just so far away. The
Right.
waves are not powerful enough to make it to me, but something really close I can hear.
Okay.
So 5G, when we talked about 4G, right? 4G is 4 gigahertz, 5G is 5 gigahertz. It's only a little bit more than 4G. It's not anything crazy. It's not something like the world has never seen 5G before. There's
And
not some.
we're being exposed to stuff that's like, what is this?
Oh,
Like around 300 gigahertz.
yeah. Look at this terahertz radiation. I've actually heard about people using terahertz radiation for good. My professor in one of my classes is using it to study cancer cells, and using it to study. It's another way of what's it called? Of observing things that our eyes can't see, right?
I guess what this is like making me curious is like, what is like we're not being exposed to like the 300 gigahertz. Like it might be like a tower that's like receiving the 300 gigahertz, right?
Think about it like this. This is kind of cool. Even if you were exposed to this is nothing even close to the natural radiation like that we see in just a normal day. If you walked up straight to this antenna, as this antenna was shooting off its frequency, right? Maybe you would get some effects of radiation.
Maybe you would die.
The wavelength of this, so this is very important too. The wavelength is basic. We don't have to get so sciencey, but a lot of these radio waves, their wavelengths are on the order of like buildings. They're like the size of buildings. They're so huge. So here, look at this. Radio is like the size of a building. Microwave is around the size of a human being. So imagine a wave hitting you, but the distance between it hitting you is the size of a building. So it's barely like, it's not like bombarding you so fast, right? That it's like you're constantly being shot by this radiation. It's actually very slow. It's a whole, you can fit a whole building between.
So we're getting like these periodic exposures to the frequencies, which you're saying.
Sure, but that's the thing. The wavelength is so big, it barely has an effect on you. There's radio frequencies right now in the air. You can listen to them because I can pull out a radio, right? And I can hear them, right? But they don't affect you. You live with them every day, right?
Okay, well, yeah, okay, sure.
So anyway, that's the thing with 5G. This isn't some like crazy new technology. All of a sudden, people are dropping like flies because of 5G. We've lived with much, much higher frequencies. And if you you get an X-ray, right? That's something that really could hurt you. But 5G is not even it's not even close to that.
So for the other frequency waves, are we being like constantly exposed to them, or is it like?
Well, that's the thing. If you have, it's a lot easier to make a powerful. Think about it like this. In order for something to reach me, it has to be powerful enough. coming from the source to be able to reach me. Because no matter what, this wave is slowly over time going to get smaller and smaller and smaller until it turns into nothing.
Yep.
So to be able to reach me, it has to be powerful enough. But making a wave powerful enough that is a very, very small wavelength, it takes a lot of power to do that.
Wait, would you say make a wavelength?
Basically, what I mean by this is I can't make an X-ray shoot from here to New York. That would take so much power to make an X-ray that powerful enough that it could travel that far. But radio, it's very easy to do that because the wavelength
is so big.
It's so big, exactly. It doesn't take a lot of power, to make a radio that can go a much longer distance. That's the idea. That's the idea, basically. Yes, there's all these radio frequencies all the time, but the thing is, they're not harmful and they're not power. You can't. It's hard to make. There are frequencies that are harmful to human beings, but it's so hard to make them powerful enough that it could affect people from like all over. That it could just travel in the air. That's very hard to do. The frequencies, color. Like what we see, the visible light spectrum. That's a higher frequency than radio waves. So
they're a higher frequency, but they're not radio waves. They're not radioactive.
But they're a wave of light. They're an electromagnetic wave, the visible light spectrum. So obviously the reason why I can look at this computer but I can't stick my head in a microwave is because the microwaves in a microwave, they're so powerful, right? This light coming off of the screen has no power behind it, but it still hits my eyeballs and I can still see it. But I can't stick my head in a microwave because there's so much energy built up in a microwave, right? It would be harmful.
So for the 5G, so you're saying since the power of the source of the 5G waves is probably not as powerful as is creating these huge wavelengths to the point where it probably wouldn't have any health detriments or something like that.
Well, it's clear obviously that having a device like a cell phone, before radios, you keep them on your chimney or something, or in your house somewhere. Cell phones, we carry them around in our pockets all the time and we hold them up to our ears to talk. It's clear that having a device like this that has all these electromagnetic frequencies on us all the time can be harmful, right? We saw that article. But this 5G is not going to be, it's the same thing as 4G. It's not this new frequency that we've never seen. It's a little bit faster than 4G, right? It's the difference between 4 billion and 5 billion. If you had $5 billion and I took away $1 billion from you, it would be the same, right? Right?
I suppose.
Imagine you had 1 million. How much does $1 billion weigh? I think somebody did this calculation.
How much is $1 billion away?
Yeah, $1 billion weigh.
Away.
Yeah. Okay. $1 billion. Oh wait, $1 million weighs 2,000 pounds, 2,200, right?
Oh, okay.
If you multiply this by 1,000, that's 1 billion. 1 billion would weigh 2 million pounds, right? Imagine you had $4 billion on top of you, right? Imagine you had $4 billion.
Okay.
You would have 8 million pounds on you. If I throw on an extra 2 million pounds, it's not going to change very much. You're going to have you're still going to have 8 billion pounds on you. The difference between 4G and 5G is not that big. It sounds like a big crazy number, an extra billion. But from going from 4G to 5G, you're getting the same effect basically from the frequencies.
Yeah, but you're still adding 25% of your
Yeah,
entire.
but we're talking a bill. You're adding, sure, like, okay, if you had $1 and I gave you $1 billion, yes, that's a huge difference. But we're going
Yeah,
from
but like
4
I know,
billion
but like
to
if
5 billion.
but that's just like 25%. Like that's like 25 cents. Like yeah, $1.25 is not a difference.
Exactly,
But
right?
you have a billion, but yeah, 25%.
Exactly. If I give you
But
an extra
25% is still like a big chunk of like the
no,
what it
if I give
currently
you, if
was.
you had $1 and I gave you 25 cents, you'd be
If
like,
I only had if I
oh,
only had
okay.
$1, I would be like,
Right.
yeah, give me 25% of my equity or like my net worth. That's a lot, right?
I mean, all I'm saying is we're already talking in the orders of billions. It's not that big of a jump, you know, in the grand scheme of things. And let's not forget that we experience things much higher than 5G on a regular basis.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if like, are we constantly being exposed to like stuff greater than 5G, like all the time,
Oh
like
yeah.
as much as our phones do?
Oh well, that's the thing. We have our phones always on us, but in the air,
Yeah,
there's radio frequencies from everywhere.
yeah,
You know, if you have cable TV, that's an antenna. That's a radio frequency.
yeah. And I know, but it's like not right next to in my pocket.
Yeah, but it's still in the air. It's a when you walk outside, there's still those
Yeah,
frequencies out there.
it still comes in. Yeah.
Sure, there's still radiation in the air. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. I
I
mean,
think yeah. I don't know. Like, I probably don't have like too. I don't have too many like skeptical opinions about 5G or 4G. I mean, we'll see what happens. I don't think like it's gonna. Okay, so like, was her whole point just like beware 5G and like what it's doing? How does this connect? Was she like connecting it to some coronavirus thing?
well, that's her whole point. That because of 5G, all of a sudden we got 5G, and our bodies are became more unhealthy because of 5G, and everybody got coronavirus. So she's basically saying, turn off. She literally said this: turn off your LTE data, turn all of that off. She said, by turning off your LTE data, you won't experience any of the radiation anymore. Let's not forget. Oh, somebody else in your house might have a phone. Maybe go live by yourself. Live by yourself. Turn off your LTE data. Put up a Faraday cage, right? Put up one of these. Let me show you. This is how you block out all radio frequencies. Okay? Get one of these. Get a Faraday cage, right?
Yeah.
Live in there. Block yourself from all the 5G and you'll be all right. You won't get corona. You need to get one of these. Basically, and then go live in that, and then you'll be fine. Yeah, you'll be fine.
Why did you need one? I thought she said we already damaged from all the radiation. I thought our cells already died.
She was telling people like turn off your LTE. Like that's the only way you could save yourself from this. It's not too late. Turn off your LTE. Here you go. Turn off 5G by disabling LTE. Whatever. All
So
this.
she's saying if you immediately cut off your exposure to 5G, you're gonna have immunity to coronavirus because like your cells are just gonna immediately regenerate and be.
Yeah, sure. I guess there obviously is no science behind what she's saying, so who knows? I don't know. I'm surprised she didn't say something like, turn off your 5G, go listen to my album. This is the only way you could save yourself. This is the only way you could save yourself.
I don't have data. What do I do?
Turn off your Wi-Fi. Oh, that's a good one. I wonder.
Doesn't Wi-Fi use 5G?
What frequency does Wi-Fi operate at?
Is my router right here says 2G and 5G on it.
Yeah, a lot of Wi-Fis now use 5G actually. So they either use 2.4 gigahertz and they've actually started using 5G.
Yeah,
5 gigahertz.
Has 5G right here.
I hope she doesn't have a 5G router in her house because she is screwed.
She probably does if she has Verizon. We should tweet to her.
We gotta let her know, dude.
Can you tweet to her right now? Like, Excuse me, Kelsey.
Carrie, I just figured this out.
Please check your router.
Please check it out. Please make sure you do not have your
Please
5G
don't tell me
Wi-Fi
you're
on.
using Wi-Fi.
Yeah, the only way to save yourself, go live in a Faraday cage. That's what you have to do.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, I guess you just have to go pilgrim, or like you have to go Amish to.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, those are some of the conspiracy theories that I found, and I think what I want to talk about now, and kind of just to like as an ending, something to bring back the moral quandary, is that when people find out about this 5G, and when people spread all these conspiracy theories, there's a lot of chance of harm about people doing harm. And when people found out about this 5G thing and it became such a world phenomenon, people actually started burning cell phone towers. Right? And they, oh my God.
Did they burn their routers too?
The New York Times is not going to let me read their article. I'll just go on something else. But in Britain, people were burning cell phone towers, 5G towers, basically to stop the spread of this virus, right?
Jeez.
Yeah. And obviously who knows what could happen when you and this is all over the country. I think there was something like 30 cases all over the country of people burning towers, and who knows what could happen. A tower
on fire.
Yeah, like a tower falling. It could start maybe the tower is near the woods or something. You could light the wildlife on fire. So this has a lot of harms, right? And forget about that. If you destroy a cell phone tower, what if people need to call the ambulance, right? And they need what are they going to do now if their cell phone is out, right? So this has a lot of harm, Yeah. My question is, should there be any repercussions for people like Carrie, such a public figure, to spread, conspiracy theories like this that could have so much harm?
I think probably not. But like in terms of like legal repercussions, like I don't think we live in like a country of free speech. You can say whatever you want. Like you could say you're gonna kill somebody, or nothing's gonna happen, right?
I don't know if you can do.
Well, I just did. Should there be any legal repercussion? I mean, like, if you don't have evidence that I didn't kill anybody,
that might be fine. Yeah, I think you'd be fine. But if that person dropped dead, then there might be some problems. But anyway, I think you can say that.
Yeah, because then there's evidence, that what I said. But I mean, I think it should be everyone's like responsibility to determine if what she's saying is coming from credible sources or just like from her own conjecture or her own opinion. Like, she's just whooping it out of her ass, and like people shouldn't be so deceived that like, I don't know, like, yes, she's an idiot, or like, but in terms of repercussions, the most you can do is just troll her.
So the burden has to fall on the people, basically, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of like, especially, I mean, if it was like the government spreading like all these like I guess panic theories, then it would be a different story. But like, since it's just a person, like, what is her like, I guess, like, credibility in saying those things?
I don't think she has any.
It doesn't make any sense.
I don't think she has any. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if she has 5G Wi-Fi in her house.
Yeah, but like, are you getting to the point like that people who are causing like confusion and like panic should face some sort of punishment? What do you think?
No, I totally agree with you. I think well, there's a couple things. I think one, it would be awesome if the burden did fall on it. The burden obviously does fall on the people. It falls on you to look up what you're reading, but oftentimes people don't do that, and that's where we get into problems, And obviously, who's going to understand 5G and all these frequencies? I talked about this for like very little. Even I'm confused, and I've been going to school and I've been studying it and stuff. So it's hard for people to hear all these scientific claims, like when it comes to anti-vax, flat earth, all this. It's hard for them to understand these high knowledgeable scientific claims. And so if they just go the easy route and they just hear this person speak plain English, 5G is going to kill you. And they're like, hey, I can understand that. That makes sense,
Yeah.
So the burden does fall on the people, but oftentimes people do a very bad job of and it's not their fault.
Responsibility. Yeah,
it's not their fault.
Yeah.
But what I was gonna say was that, like on places like YouTube does censor, I think, conspiracy videos now. If something is deemed a conspiracy, I think they'll take it off their website. That was something that came out recently.
It's interesting. How did they? That's weird. I don't like that.
Yeah, there was a lot of backlash for that. YouTube makes moves to make conspiracy videos harder to find. Of course, it's a New York Times article, so I'm not going to be able to read it. But yeah, I mean, don't just take what I'm saying as truth. Look this up for yourself. But I do remember they've reverted this claim, but that I do remember them saying that they were going to, make conspiracy videos harder to find, basically.
Yeah, I would want to see how like they are making conspiracy videos harder to find. Obviously, like they're not just going to show up in your recommendations if you're not looking about anything about conspiracy videos. But I'm sure if I started a YouTube channel and I just watched a bunch of conspiracy videos, all my stuff would be recommended with conspiracy videos.
I mean, that might be an interesting thing to try out. I don't know how good they are at hiding it.
You want to make a YouTube channel to conspiracy?
Maybe.
Person Rob.
We'll see if people find this video. We'll see what happens.
But yeah, I mean, I think like all this stuff like is necessary for like people to, even if people are gullible and are gonna just listen to what these random celebrities are saying, it's kind of like all just like you learn from your mistakes. People are gonna be like, yeah, I trusted this one conspiracy theory because this celebrity said to turn off my LTE, and nothing happened. Like, they're gonna see like why their stuff like is idiotic. I mean, the truth will always come out. I mean.
Yeah, and we can only hope that people don't do dumb things like set cell phone towers on fire.
Yeah, but you might have to go through like a couple of those things for it to get through like people's speculations. I don't know. Like obviously that's going to have like a lot of detrimental effects on like you said, like wildfires could start. Like ambulances could not be prevented from being called. But idiotic actions to lead to idiotic consequences.
So yeah. So that was a show. I thought that was a lot of fun. Thank you for joining me, Rob, and me and Jalen on our quest for coronavirus. These coronavirus conspiracies.
Yeah, thank you, Chris, for sharing all your theories with me. I had no idea these even existed. Like.
Oh yeah.
Am I more anxious than I should be? I don't know.
I think. Well, are you? Do you feel more worried now that you know?
The only part that kind of like raised an eye was the whole quantum dots thing. I didn't really know that was being made an emphasis right now.
Well, we'll have to go back to that because I think that whole medical thing could be very interesting to talk about.
Yeah, I think that's going to be interesting in terms of like, is it going to be legally required for you to get these quantum dots? Because then at that point you're at like a sci-fi show.
It's going to be weird. But thank you to our FBI agents for tuning in.
Yeah, thanks Dan, thanks Jeff. Appreciate you listening in.
Love having you guys here. And we'll see you guys next time. Maybe. I don't know.